When we think about it, fire gave us both civilization and the power to destroy it. Water feeds life, but floods destroy it. And today, AI gives us both the power to solve humanity's greatest challenges and the power to make them irreversibly worse. Now, looking back, it is quite clear that every powerful technology gives us the same fundamental choice: the power to feed or the power to starve. The power actually to build or the power to tear down. The power actually to serve humanity's potential or the power to serve only our immediate interests. I'm Edosa Odaro. I've spent the last 3 decades working with hundreds of organizations, from Fortune 100 companies, governments, and policymakers to some of actually the earliest startups in Africa and the global south. And I've actually helped countless of these organizations gain measurable value from AI, from the kind of traditional pillars such as cost saving, efficiency gains, and revenue increases. But here's what I've actually learned. Even the successful ones often create value in one dimension whilst destroying it in another. This is because they optimize for what they can actually measure rather than what they actually matters to real people. And it is clear that the difference really isn't in the technology. It is really in recognizing this double-edged reality. But let me show you what this actually looks like in practice. So I worked with an organization that actually deployed an AI fraud detection system. And the results, well, they were spectacular. They had millions in losses prevented. They had customers protected. They had real criminals actually apprehended. And that's really classic value creation. The power to feed, increasing financial security, increasing trust, and increasing protection. But here's what the quarterly kind of reports, the usual kind of reports that you get, what they didn't actually capture. The same system actually froze innocent customer accounts, destroying relationships between the customers and the organization, relationships that have been built over decades. Worse yet, it systematically flagged certain communities, so creating discriminatory sort of patterns that damaged lives and increased already very high inequalities. And that's simultaneously value destruction. That is the power to starve, impacting on things like trust and fairness and even human dignity. So same technology, same data, same algorithms even, but value created on the one hand and destroyed on the other. Effectively, a zero-sum game masqueraded itself as pure success. But this isn't a technology problem. It is, in fact, a recognition problem. We're celebrating wins whilst really being blind to losses. But here is what I'm even more concerned about. Now, it is no secret by now, really, that over 85% of AI projects actually fail to deliver value. But even many of those successful ones, they're playing this very dangerous game, really. They're optimizing single metrics whilst cannibalizing even the very things that make organizations and societies human. But here's what gives me a bit of hope. Now, 6 or 7 generations ago, 90% of our ancestors, they worked actually on the land. So our great-great-grandparents lived in a world where farming was life. Today, less than 10% of us actually farm. Now, by our current logic about AI and jobs, we should really have over 90% unemployment. but we don't. And the same pattern holds everywhere. For instance, it is hard to believe now, but just 40 years ago, organizations had no computers. I mean, today, everyone carries more computing power in their pockets than entire companies had back in the kind of 80s and the 90s. And what happened? Well, we didn't just replace human labor. Instead, what we did is we chose to invest in human potential. So we created new forms really of value that never actually existed before. But here's the key. That didn't happen really automatically. It happened because people made real conscious choices about what kinds of future they actually wanted to build. Today, the same choice faces us with AI. We can choose to use it really to replace human judgment or to amplify human wisdom. Now, we can choose to concentrate intelligence in a few hands, or we can choose to democratize it for the many. But the technology doesn't choose. We do. And through my work with organizations, with governments worldwide, I've actually discovered 3 critical transformations that separate successful AI adoption from what I would say really just expensive failures. The first one, a shift from dictating to designing. Now, I have observed as failed leaders try to control AI's actual outcomes, while successful leaders design systems that enable better human decisions. So instead of asking, how can AI replace this person? They're asking questions like, how can AI help this person become even more effective? Now, the second one is from concentrating to democratizing. And this is about failed organizations holding AI capabilities within kind of technical teams, whilst successful ones, they make AI value accessible across the entire organization. And actually, successful governments make it accessible across society. They understand that AI's greatest power isn't in making a few people super intelligent, even. Instead, it is about making everyone more capable. Now, the third one is from optimizing to orchestrating. And this is a big one. This is about failed implementations optimizing single metrics such as efficiency, such as speed and cost reduction. Whilst on the other hand, successful ones really orchestrate multiple dimensions of value simultaneously. They measure not just what AI can do, but what it enables people actually become. Now, right now, as we're speaking, we're designing the future of human decision-making. Every AI system deployed actually becomes part of how our society actually functions. Every algorithm reflects our priorities, whether we actually are conscious of it or we're not. And it is now clear that we are at a crossroads. Down one path, we get AI that serves narrow optimization. It kind of concentrates power and treats humans almost as if there were inefficiencies that urgently needed to be eliminated. Now, down the other, and we get AI that amplifies collective wisdom, democratizes capability, and helps us actually solve problems we never even thought were possible. But the truth is that the organizations and the societies that will actually thrive, they aren't those that we have the most sophisticated algorithms. They're the ones that understand this simple truth. AI's greatest power lies not in what it can do, but in what problems we actually choose to solve with it. Now, the reality is that the future belongs to leaders and policymakers who design systems that democratize intelligence, rather than concentrating it. And to organizations and governments that actually understand that AI's real value isn't in what it is, but in what it enables us to become. But this isn't just about competitive advantage or even economic growth. This is about using one of humanity's most powerful inventions to create businesses that are actually profitable, but also meaningful. To build governance that isn't just efficient, actually fair. To solve problems that actually matter. And to build a world where technology serves our deepest human values. Ultimately, the choice is ours. And really, the time is now. And the values that we encode today will shape our tomorrow for generations. But the real question isn't whether AI will change the world. It is whether we have the courage to really ensure that it changes the world in ways that reflect our actual deepest humanity. Thank you.